Welcome back. We are going to jump into our Hall of Fame segment here. We are naturally drum gear nerds. We got a drum shop here, and we know way too much about the details and the differences between the drums that really don't matter to a lot of people. But this is our excuse to talk about them, to really highlight some things that we think are game changers, have made a big impact on the drumming community as a whole, or yada, yada, yada. So we are going to induct our next inductee into the Drum Key Hall of Fame. Can I have a drum roll, please? The 10th inductee into the Hall of Fame is the Pearl Export drum set. Sean's got a tom over there. The Pearl Export, what's their claim? It's the #1 selling drum set?
It is the best-selling drum set worldwide for the past, I think, 35 years now.
There you go. There's a lot of exports out there.
That's
So,
pretty iconic.
yeah.
Very iconic.
That's pretty iconic.
Yeah. I owned an Export. It was the second drum set I ever had. When I took my next step up to my intermediate kit, I remember coming up from drum lessons, and there was the Pearl Export on a little stage at the old Drums Etc., which was on Queen Street in downtown, beautiful downtown Lancaster, PA. And I said, wow, I got to have that set. I don't know what it was, but it caught my eye. It was, I think, a few different things. It looked good.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell it was better than my set.
Yeah.
And it was pretty affordable. It seemed to be reasonable, like within my budget. I'm like, wow, so I could get this set for $700 with hardware? I was like, excellent. I'm going to do this. So I bought that drum set. And I had it for quite a long time.
Yeah. Evan, do you ever have an export?
I don't. I still have my Session Custom though.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Session. You stepped it up, man.
Still have the Session
You
Custom.
stepped it up. What did you start with, and how did you kind of work up with your drums? Or was that your first drum set?
That was my drum set was my first one. I started on my
Right.
dad's Slingerland kit.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So
Very
I started on my dad's vintage Slingerland kit, and then my dad bought me the Session Custom, and then upgraded to the Star Classic Babinga Birch, which I still wish I still had.
Is
but I
that the
missed.
Black Cloud Silver
Yes.
Lining?
By far the coolest kit
Beautiful
I've ever
drum
seen.
Tama.
Yes.
Tama, this is a PSA.
Yes.
We want it back.
Yes.
No,
Fantastic.
apparently they have it still.
Yeah. I saw that today in the
Oh,
magazine.
yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that now.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
But we're talking about
Talking about the
exports
Pearl
here.
Export.
Yeah.
Tama, get out of this conversation.
Back
Talking about the Pearl
Back to
Export.
Pearl. So yes, I still have my Session Custom.
Sure.
It's still set up right now in my basement. I still play it almost every day. And it still sounds phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get a nice drum set, you can just keep it.
Yeah.
If you're not antsy and you don't feel like you
Yeah.
need something a little bit different, you can just keep it. And that's our #1 problem as a drum shop. I want an expiration date or drum sets to just explode one day. And then it's time to re-up, time to trade some things in, That'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
great for a drum shop.
I always make that joke. I mean, drums aren't like a phone where it just eventually goes bad or dead or it's outdated.
Right.
Sometimes the look of them and some
Or
of the
sizes.
Yeah, sizes kind of get dated and fads go in and out. So yeah, that changes with time. But for the most part, no, nothing ever really goes wrong with them.
Here's a fad. I still have my Icon rack. The
Whoa.
front bar.
Yeah,
Nice.
buddy.
Yeah. Are they still in?
Here and there.
If you want a rack.
Yeah.
I use
you
the
want
front
a rack, that's
I like
still
the
around,
front
yeah.
bar, but I think I can honestly say I've played outside of a house kit. I think I've used my drum set for every show I ever played.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
so I mean,
amazing.
it's still great.
Yeah.
Works, runs, operates.
It runs.
Yeah, it runs. Just turn it. It's got a half a tank of gas in it at all times. Just turn it on and
Just
go.
in case.
Yeah, you're
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're good.
Change the oil
the
every
first-
3,000.
Yeah.
The first drum set I ever played was a Pearl Export.
Nice.
My uncle had one. That's the best. If you're getting into music and you've got an uncle or a dad or like a relative that
Or an
plays-
uncle dad.
Or an uncle dad. I don't know the logistics behind that, how that happened. But if you've got a relative, that's a great way to start. But he had an Export, and I thought it was an Export Select, which was kind of like a little bit of a step up, boutique-y one, but it's
Right.
not. It's just the
Regular
the
Export.
Regular Export, but it's
Okay.
got that badge. It looks like it's a Select badge. But Exports are great because they come with the hardware, and always have, right?
Yeah.
They've always had the hardware with them. So it's a great set if you're getting started, and you can kind of splurge and go up to that next step. Maybe buy some used cymbals or borrow some cymbals to get started. Then you're good. Like if you got at
Yeah.
least an Export, you're good to gig.
You have a quality kit. I know a lot of guys who gig exports exclusively for those guys that are afraid to take their high-end, beautiful drums out to the dive bar.
Yeah, take it
Get
out.
yourself a Pearl. I know. That's what I do.
Show it off.
I know it's
You
so
gotta- you
bizarre.
got-
I'm
you
like,
got a
what
hot
the
kid,
heck,
you gotta
dude?
show it off.
You got to do it. Yeah.
Take it
But
out.
there are some folks out there that will reserve their right to just
Mm-hmm.
leave their beautiful high-end boutique drums at home, and they'll bring out the Pearl Export because they
Yeah.
know it's going to perform well for them.
Yeah.
It's still a great-looking kit, and
Sure.
If I'm mistaken, didn't they? When I was in the shop, I think they discontinued it.
they did.
They
I'm glad
discontinued
you
it.
said that. I forgot.
Yes, and they brought it back.
Right.
And
By
but it was like
back by popular demand.
yeah, but it was completely like updated and modified. Like the export kit was the iconic export kit, but then it went away and it came back like even better. Like they upgraded the hardware with it.
Yeah.
Like I remember like it was which one had the single brace hardware? Like the single brace was the Forum. And then they brought like the export came back and it had like better hardware. And it was like a
Yeah.
good mid-range kit. Like you felt confident selling that to somebody
Absolutely.
that they were going to have this kit maybe forever.
Yeah.
And that's something in sales that you take pride in, that you're selling them a
Exactly.
good product. It's not
Yeah, and it's easy. They made it easy for us to back the product too. And that's the best case scenario for getting people to want to sell your stuff.
Even that, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the
badge?
Vision? They brought out the Vision,
The Vision, yeah.
Sure.
the Vision kit. Like that reminds me of the Vision badge.
Yep.
Yep. I
Yep.
think
They'll make slight tweaks, but they're always they brought it back, and they're always going to have that export name. I feel like, and even if it goes away, like you said, that did not last long. That was
Right.
not long at all. And the funny part about the whole thing is, like, we're talking about how solid of a kit it is. That's why this kit ends up in like as being the house kit in a ton of venues. That's why it ends up being the house kit at a bunch of churches. I can't tell you how often you show up to a gig and there's an export, and in my mind, that's like a sigh of relief. Like, oh, at least they have an export. It's not some junk.
There's a Rockwood sitting on the stage.
yeah. Percussion Plus. But
I'm getting shorter.
Also,
But even look at the lacquer and all that. Like you have
I
a
know,
good
it's-
lacquer finish. It's not just a wrap. It's not just a black, white, or red wine.
Yeah.
Red wine wrap.
and they
It's-
do offer those as well.
Yeah.
They offer your basic colors, but then you have these nice lacquer kits that are painted nicely,
and
and
that's what I
everything
mean.
else,
Not to dog on the wraps, but
No.
you have a good kit that you have the option to do a wrap. You have,
Yeah.
but it has a lacquer finish. And again, what I said, it's a good kit. It's a good kit that somebody could have
And
and
they
have
s-
confidence in.
and they support the add-ons, so you can get yourself an 8 or a 10 or a 14 or 16, and
Different
maybe
configurations.
Different configurations,
And then on top of that, we've got all the parts that constructs that
Yes,
drum. We can
yes.
get you the shelf, we can get you the lugs, the tension
Every little
rods, the
thing.
mount, the washers, the hoops, the heads. We can even get you replacement stock heads if you want stock export heads for some reason.
Who
Okay,
knows?
we can do that too.
But,
So they
again-
really fully support it.
you were talking about house kits. This was our house kit for our drum studios. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of drum students have played on this drum set, this very set, and now we use it as a rental drum set. So that just
solid.
goes to show
I
you.
was gonna say how many exports did we have in the?
Well, yeah, the old store we had probably 4.
Yeah, there was.
We-
Out
yeah,
of like 5 studios,
Yeah.
we had 4 exports
Right.
at least in there.
Yeah.
In the mix. Yeah, for sure. And they're always the easiest to work on. Piece of cake. Awesome. Yeah. So Export, welcome to the Drum Key Hall of Fame.
Very deserving.
Very, very deserving. Long overdue. Even before this podcast existed, Export's been chomping at the bit to get into the Drum Key Hall of Fame. Chomping at the bit.
Amazing.
But yeah, awesome. Sounds good, man. Let's jump into our next segment. We're going to pop into Quick Question.